Hey everyone, my name is Monica and I'm a 7th grade science teacher in Chicago, Illinois. Once again, shout out to you for taking your time to make sure that you are ready to go for the Matter and Energy and Ecosystems unit. Alright, so the big unit question that this unit drives towards is how do all organisms in an ecosystem get the resources they need to release energy? Before we begin, making sure that 1, you have read and annotated the unit overview, unit at a glance, and standards. 2, you have read and annotated the science background knowledge. And 3, you have in front of you the unit internalization guide and a pencil or a pen in handy. So why does this unit even matter? Well, Matter and Energy and Ecosystems introduces our students to the idea of energy and systems. Students learn about their interconnectedness of abiotic and biotic factors of an ecosystem, and this unit really emphasizes the cause and effect relationship that exists in all ecosystems and pushes students to consider ecosystem sustainability. All right, let's get into our chapter overviews. So in chapter 1, students answer the question, why didn't the plants and animals in the biodome have enough energy storage molecules? Students begin chapter 1 by taking the pre-unit assessment. Students are then introduced to their role as ecologists who will be investigating a failed biodome. This is a fictional biodome, which was constructed by a local group of individuals. With the advice of ecologists, the group members hoped that their sealed ecosystem would be self-sustaining, plenty of plants for the animals to eat, plenty of sunlight and water for the plants, and plenty of air for both. However, 5 years into the project, the group noticed that the plants and animals in the biodome were not getting the resources that they needed to release energy, and the ecosystem appeared to be failing. Students then read from the biodome files, which they use to brainstorm their initial ideas of what could have actually went wrong with this biodome. Students then use the sim to make observations about where energy storage molecules in an ecosystem come from to kind of figure out, why these things didn't have energy storage molecules in the biodome. Students then read an article titled Sunlight and Life. They focus on a diagram to help them deepen their understanding of photosynthesis, which is where energy storage molecules kind of first appear. Students compare the sim with the photosynthesis diagram and gather more evidence about where energy storage molecules come from. Students notice that water and carbon dioxide are taken in by the chloroplast, and energy storage molecules are produced along with oxygen. They also notice that carbon is a part of carbon dioxide, which is an abiotic matter. Carbon is also part of energy storage molecules, which are biotic matter. Students are then introduced to the modeling tool, and afterward they build a model to show where an ecosystem's energy storage molecules come from. Students use the sim to find ways to decrease energy storage molecules in the ecosystem in living things, and through the simulation, they realize that there are 2 ways that they can do this. 1 is by changing the amount of carbon dioxide, and 2 is by changing the amount of sunlight in an ecosystem. In pairs, students discuss graphical data about the amounts of carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water in the biodome. They conclude that the amount of carbon dioxide led to a decrease in the energy storage molecules in the biodome. They then create a final model to send to the equinauts to help them understand where these energy storage molecules were coming from. This leads us to the progress build 1, which states that energy storage molecules are made by producers through photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, energy from the sun is used to make energy storage molecules using carbon from carbon dioxide. This process moves carbon from abiotic matter to biotic matter. The amount of energy storage molecules available to supply the energy needs for an ecosystem depends on the amount of sunlight and carbon dioxide available to producers. All right, so going right into our chapter 1 focus task, go ahead and pause the video now, read through the chapter focus task, and try to answer this on your own. Here is a exemplar of what a student response should look like. Go ahead and pause the video and read through the exemplar. All right, in chapter 2, students will be answering the question, what caused the carbon dioxide to decrease in the air, abiotic matter of the biodome? Students begin the chapter by sorting parts of an ecosystem to show their initial ideas about whether they give off carbon dioxide or not. Students then watch a video to get evidence about whether producers and consumers give off carbon dioxide. They conclude that both producers and consumers can give off carbon dioxide. They then read an article for homework titled "A Feast for Decomposers" to determine if decomposers also give off carbon dioxide. Students then gather evidence from about the investigation question, how do organisms give off carbon dioxide, by comparing the diagram of cellular respiration to its depiction in the sim. By observing that all living organisms give off carbon dioxide, students conclude that producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and decomposers perform cellular respiration. Dead matter does not perform cellular respiration. Students then demonstrate their knowledge of cellular respiration by modeling their answers to the investigation question. Students then are introduced to the biodome population data graph. Students notice that there was a decrease in decomposers, and therefore that is probably the reason why the amount of carbon dioxide decreased in the air. Students then use the sim to test this claim to decide if decomposers really led to a decrease in carbon dioxide. Students will complete Chapter 2 by completing the critical juncture assessment and completing a differentiated lesson based on their results from the critical juncture. Leading us right into Progress Bill 2, which states, through the process of cellular respiration, producers, consumers, and decomposers release energy from energy storage molecules and make carbon dioxide using the carbon in energy storage molecules. When organisms give off carbon dioxide, this moves carbon from biotic matter to abiotic matter. This makes carbon available in the form of carbon dioxide to producers for photosynthesis. This is our Chapter 2 focus task, which is writing to the equinats. Go ahead and pause the video here and read through the task and try to answer this on your own. Here is an exemplar for the Chapter 2 focus task. Go ahead and pause the video, read through it. All right, Chapter 3, students will be answering the question, what happened to the carbon that used to be in the air, which was abiotic matter of the biodome? At this point, students have determined that there was a decrease in decomposers, therefore and that is the reason why there was a decrease in the carbon dioxide. All right, so students will begin Chapter 3 with focusing on carbon and reading an article on carbon titled "Carbon in the Global Ecosystem." From this article, they will learn that carbon moves from one part of the Earth's ecosystem to another. Students then play a game that simulates how carbon moves through an ecosystem, and they observe that the total amount of carbon in the system always stays the same. Students are then introduced to two claims about what happened or what could have happened to the carbon in the air. Students learn that since carbon cannot be produced or used up, the total amount of carbon in a closed ecosystem does not change. Therefore, claim 2 is the correct claim. They also learn that if the amount of carbon increased in abiotic matter, then it also decreased in biotic matter and vice versa. Students then use the simulation and the biodome files to find more evidence of why the decomposer population declined in the biodome. They come up with two reasons, first being that the dead matter was buried too deep for decomposers to access, and second, there were no worms in the biodome to break down the dead matter so it could be accessible to other decomposers. Students finish off Chapter 3 by completing a cause and effect card sort with a partner, explaining how one thing leads to another in the biodome. Students then create a model of the biodome ecosystem that shows how carbon moves from one part of the ecosystem to another. This leads us to our Progress Bill 3, which states carbon cannot be produced or used up. Therefore, the total amount of carbon in a closed ecosystem is always the same. This means a change in the amount of carbon in abiotic matter also means the amount of carbon in biotic matter has changed and vice versa. A change in the distribution of carbon in the ecosystem indicates that the movement of carbon via photosynthesis or cellular respiration has changed in the ecosystem. Go ahead and pause the video, take a look at the Chapter 3 focus task recommendation to equinats, try to answer this on your own. Here is an exemplar for the Chapter 3 focus task. Pause the video and read through the response. All right, so now for Chapter 4, students will apply what they have learned so far to a new question, which is why does deforestation lead to increased carbon dioxide in the air? In Chapter 4, students are introduced to the term deforestation, and they begin to think of reasons that people might need to clear trees off land. They are given two claims of why deforestation might lead to increased carbon in the air. First one being that there was more cellular respiration happening, or in the second being that there was less photosynthesis happening in the ecosystem. Students then read through evidence and annotate the cards so they understand each one before determining how the information relates to the claims. Students then discuss the evidence to determine which claim best supports the claim for why deforestation leads to increased carbon dioxide in the air. This leads us to our Chapter 4 task. Go ahead and pause the video, read through the task on your own. Here is the Chapter 4 task exemplar. Go ahead and pause the video and read through both possible responses on your own. Students then complete Chapter 4 by taking the end of unit assessment. Let's dive right in. Let's begin with a Progress Build 1 question. Go ahead and pause the video, see if you can answer the Progress Build 1 question. If you answered C, you are absolutely correct. C, that they take in carbon from the air. The carbon is used to make energy storage molecules, which is stated in our Progress Build 1. All right, go ahead and pause the video, read through the Progress Build 2 question, see if you can answer this one on your own as well. If you answered B, you are absolutely correct. Carbon is moving into the air and out of the air at the same time on a sunny day, which can be explained in Progress Build 2. All right, let's see if you can answer a Progress Build 3 question. Once again, pause the video here, answer it on your own. If you answered A, you are absolutely correct. The aquarium is now in sunlight and there are more energy storage molecules in the plants and the fish as explained in Progress Build 3. Let's take a look at one of the constructed response examples that students will be answering in the end of unit assessment. Go ahead and pause the video, read through it, see if you can answer this one on your own. All right, here is an exemplar. Remember, in order for students to be at a level 3, they need to demonstrate an understanding of levels 1 and 2, and on top explain that an increasing carbon dioxide necessitates a decrease in energy storage molecules because there is a fixed amount of carbon in this space station. All right, thank you, teachers, and we are all done with our Matter and Energy and Ecosystems overview. Congratulations. Remember, KIPP teachers, that you complete the final steps below. Thank you so much.